In this very interesting episode with Vikrant Vinayak, you will hear about his reinvention, about himself through his personal as well as professional journey. Please listen to Vikrant Vinayak, who's a senior managing director in Accenture, a very close friend of mine from NIT Trichy. And he shares his wisdom in terms of how he moves from one industry to the other and also being a visionary to the business leaders he consults with. He talks about how important it is to create genuine relationships and how feedback has helped him over and over again. Listen on.
Hi, Vikrant. Good morning. And so happy to have you here in the Software People Stories.
Thank you, Gayatri. It's very exciting to be speaking with you as well.
So, Vikrant, you are a senior managing director for Accenture and a career the person in Accenture. So, without much further ado, why don't you introduce yourself for our listeners?
Sure. Vikrant Vinayak, I'm a senior managing director with Accenture. I've been with Accenture 17 years, and I would say that I've had an excellent journey over these 17 years. And as I have spent this time at Accenture, I have not only learned and grown, but I've also reinvented myself in these 17 years. And as we talk through, I would love to share some stories with you on how I have been on this journey of reinvention. And at a personal level, I live in Chicago, and in my family, my wife and I have two boys. And when I'm not out working with the clients, I'm either running, I'm biking, or I'm hiking, which is a newly found hobby as of last year. I enjoy playing golf. So you can see that I lead a very busy lifestyle.
Excellent, excellent. I know you also have a couple of non-profit associations also. So, uh, let me start from the beginning. What I know you did mechanical engineering in REC Trichy. So, what got you started in software? I know software. My software experience was in the Octagon for the first time when I looked at the computer and everything. But what was the first thing, and what got you passionate about it?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. And that's an excellent question because I think today, when you talk about technology, I think technology is a very broad umbrella. So 15, 20 years ago, when you talked about either software or technology, it was very much boxed into IT as an organization. It was very much boxed into systems that are going to enable a business, whether it's ERPs or customer relationship management type of systems. But today, everything that we do, technology is embedded in that. And so, as I say that I work for a technology company, I work for a leading technology services provider, Accenture, where we are at the core of how we make our clients successful to drive their business outcomes while serving them with things that they cannot do on their own while we are innovating. So what does my journey looks like? So mechanical engineer, I actually worked in supply chain area right after I did my MBA after mechanical engineering. And from there, I made the pivot to consulting. And as I got into consulting, I realized that the business world is going to evolve every 3 to 5 years. We are at such rapid pace of innovation that as the business is evolving, so is the need to create solutions to make our life easier. So very recently, Chat GPT is the talk of the town. Everyone is experimenting. Everyone is talking about that. 10, 15 years ago, there was something else. And before that, was something else. But one thing is for sure that there isn't an aspect of our life which is not governed by technology. We wake up, we have an electronic alarm clock, which is on our phones. Typically, we have use of technology there. Most of us are having smart wearable devices that is helping us monitor our sleep, monitor our steps in the day, monitor our activity. And now, actually, there are devices that can actually even create EKG through a smartwatch. So technology is everywhere. We go to work, our size of our computers have shrunk. You don't see any computers anywhere. You see laptops, and actually you see a lot of people work on surfaces, on iPads, and actually many times you don't even need that. You're just working through your smartphone. Technology is everywhere. We are using our phones to order lunches for delivery. We're using our phones to call for a ride share apps. We are using our phones for shopping. So technology is everywhere. So I believe that another 5 to 10 years, the whole notion of software and technology being a different work stream is going to go away. And every person needs to know technology in order to be successful, no matter what they're doing. Even if you look at the healthcare field, doctors are doing surgeries. They have been doing surgeries, even open heart surgeries, with the use of robots. That is technology. So a long-winded answer to your short question about technology, but happy to answer further questions.
Vikrant. So I was asking about your early memories, why you got passionate about technology. I think you answered it very beautifully in terms of saying if you are around the water, you better love water. So absolutely.
Yes, and I think sometimes also things happen where like by chance. So I was in supply chain, and as I started to see that supply chains could not be run effectively without being without the use of the technology, without having the data at your fingertips on where your product is and where your customers' demands are. From there, I realized almost like 10 years ago that I needed to reinvent myself. And I needed to reinvent and get broader, to get into the field of finance, into into talent, field of more core, like what we call the technology, as in like development of new platforms, developing of new business models, mergers and integration. And no matter what function I've gone to, I've realized that technology is really making a big differentiator on the success of those functions. So that's where my love for technology is, and has evolved over the years. Like you said, if you're around water, you better start to love it.
Totally. So let me start with asking you. You mentioned about being reinventing yourself, and I see your career path in terms of joining supply chain. You also did your MBA and then moved to consulting, and from there, even within Accenture, you are referring to multiple roles that you played. Can you please explain why you felt the need to shift? I think sometimes many of us feel very comfortable doing what you can, right? And the often joke that is there in the IT field is the Peter's principle. You grow to the highest point of your inefficiency. But often folks don't want to leave their comfort zone and try to go and explore something. Is it because of the need, or is it because of your own passion to explore new things? Can you elaborate more about it?
Yeah, so for me personally, there was a passion, and I've been fortunate to have good mentors in my career. So I learned this principle of having a personal board of advisors. So like organizations have board of directors, I have my personal board of directors, and these are my mentors. And I've been very fortunate that one of my mentors challenged me almost, I would say, 10, 12 years ago, and said that you have so much more potential, and you are the only limiting factor to where you can go. And that hit me really hard, because I was very comfortable in what I was doing, and I was enjoying what I was doing. And this person shared with me that you need to unlearn before you can learn new things. And that's a mindset shift, unlearn to learn. Because once we are so much deep into something, like you said, we get the comfort and we are like, everything is going great and I'm at the top. Why do I need to change? But change is the only constant. So when I was challenged to push myself, I almost set a journey that every couple of years, I need to push myself physically, mentally, and professionally. So if you looked at 6 years ago, I was not an avid runner. And now I run 2 to 3 half marathons a year. That's something, a mission I have done. And actually, that's a great personal transformation journey. Uh, I was not a cyclist. Now I cycle every weekend 50 miles. So that's on the personal aspect. On the mental resilience aspect, there are certain things I'm doing to make sure that mental resilience is there as well. And on the professional level, then it's like, what can I learn new? Uh, 2 years ago, I knew very limited about sustainability. In the last 2 years, I have done a lot of work in the area of sustainability, and I realize how it is important for us to have a healthy planet, and why we need to focus on ESG to have a society that is equitable, where everyone is getting opportunities, and how we are caring for the next generation. So in the process of learning, you're unlearning what you knew, and you're basically learning new things, and that's what's giving you that runway on how you can drive yourself further. And one thing I would say for sure is that I still, those words resonate to me, that the limit is what I set. And now I'm setting sky as the limit, which means that I can continue to do more. So no matter what aspect of your life, really, it starts with getting inspired and setting your limits to a point where you can continue to push those limits and then go towards new ones. It's like in work, we set the goals, whether it's about go live for a project, whether it's about doing something, we set those goals and then we achieve those, and then, okay, let me set next goal, it'll tougher, and let me go achieve that. And it's also about continuous improvement.
Excellent. So I have so many questions to ask you in each of those, and I want to see if you can share some stories, your personal change stories, right? I think this is a matter of excellence in terms of saying, hey, I have changed. Not only do I have to have changed in my professional life, I've also changed in my personal life, which is also, in the end of the day, all of us are one whole human. And while we can all put a great hero cape on us, our own empathetic human being comes on top, right? So can you share one or two of your move, and how did you prepare yourself? See, many of us struggle at that unlearning part, because the moment you have to start unlearning, what you said is very true in terms of, if you had to stay in the same era of a large Nokia phone, and because it is easier to hit the buttons, I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today in terms of having applications in every aspect. So, can you give us an example of your unlearning and building next runway, as you said?
Absolutely. So, you asked about even the personal change, and I think let me kind of start with that a little bit. With the personal change journey, I realized that I was not taking care of my health over the years. We get so busy with work, we get so busy with family, with kids, our responsibilities, and then on top of that, we add in, I'm very passionate about giving back to the community. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm involved with some nonprofits as well. When you look at the whole spectrum, there is no me time. There is no taking care of myself. And I learned that if you cannot take care of yourself well, how will you take care of your family members? How will you take care of your team members? How are you going to be there available for them through all that? So the first thing is, no matter what you do, you need to carve out some time to take care of yourself. And I realized that a little late, maybe around 5 years, 6 years ago or so. And then I realized that what was something that excited me. Previously, I would go walk on a treadmill or run on a treadmill. I couldn't even fathom how people run outside. Like, that is so boring. So I had to push myself, and I joined a running group. And I realized as I ran in the group, they would run twice a week, Wednesday evening and Saturday morning. I realized that there is a lot more to running. For example, I showed up one morning, and it was a hot summer morning, and after like a couple of miles, I was dizzy. And my running coach from the group realized that I was slow, and she asked me, and I said, "Well, I'm dizzy." And she said, "Have you been hydrating yourself?" "What do you mean by that?" "I had water." She said, "Yes, but did you take electrolytes?" "Oh, no, I didn't." So there was a big unlearning that running isn't just like you just wake up and just put on your shorts and you go run. You need to have right nutrition. You need to have right electrolytes, because if you don't do that, you'll end up being injured. So I learned in that process. And as I started to go on with the group, I learned so many things about running, which I didn't know. And I had to change my mental model on what running was associated with. I had to find something that excited me as I ran. So fast forward today, if someone asks me to go run on a treadmill, I cannot do that. I find that very boring. And as you probably know, as we talked when I was in India recently, if I'm in Bangalore, I'll try to go run in the morning there on the road. If I'm in Hyderabad, I'll try to do the same. If I'm in Zurich, I'll try to do the same. No matter what part of the world I am in, I try to get a run out there, because now that is inspirational for me, and I have changed my mental model. So that's a little bit of on the personal journey. Similarly, if you look at our day, starting from we wake up in the morning to the end of the day, it's very hectic. It can be stressful with a lot of demands, and for those of us who have families and children, the demands can be more than just the demands from the work. And you're in the middle of a call, and you get a text from your child, he or she needs something urgent, and you have to balance, or the spouse needs something. And so we are all facing that. That's the world we live in. And I think in that world, having a moment for yourself where you can pause and say, I need 15 minutes of just clearing my head and being ready for the day is important. Now, for some people, the clearing of the head comes from running. For some people, it is through meditation. For some people, it is through yoga. For some people, it is through reading. No matter what it is, find that something that is relaxing for you and bring in a habit and discipline in your life, because that will then allow you to go through the day and be more productive and more effective. And as you break your own boundaries, it'll help you. I'll give you another example. When I started to run, I was running, and then I kind of shifted to walking. And I would walk 5 miles to 10 miles a day. And that was a long walk. And I had to figure out how to do that. I did not realize that walking strengthened my legs. And when I started to run again, my speed increased. So similarly, these 15 minutes as we put in for these activities, whether it's towards yoga or meditation or whatever, we do not realize it gives us that mental resilience and actually makes us a stronger human being mentally and physically.
Excellent, Vikrant. I love your, taking an example of running and talking about your personal change and reinventing yourself. So when you mentioned about learning and learning from peers, right? Where does the not having a ego, because all of us have achieved in different realms, right? Achievement by in itself is relative. How do you keep your own self of saying, okay, who's this person to give me advice? Is that how do you let go of that and take something with very genuinely? It is always. I know electrolyte in a running sounds very straightforward, but oftentimes we get advices. All of us get advices. How do you take those advices in the right way and act upon it? Can you share some of your experience? I know you mentioned about your board of advisors, so I want to also touch upon that on this.
Absolutely. So, Gayatri, that I would say is something that takes a little longer to develop. And early on in my career, I had a notion that, and I genuinely believed in that no matter what person touches your life in professional or personal format, there is something you can learn from that person and you can impart something to that person. It really started for me with that belief. And as I have several people work part of my team, several people work with me, several people I work for, I'm constantly looking for how can I make myself better? Goes back to that reinvention, goes back to that continuous improvement journey. How can I make myself better? I have a colleague who is very calm, and even when there is a stressful situation, even when someone is provoking, this colleague stays very calm and reflects, relaxes, thinks, and then respond. And sometimes I feel that I react and I respond and then I think. So there is that aspect that I can learn from that colleague. Another colleague has a very good vocabulary of words as he or she pens down emails, or messages to the team. There is something I can take away from that. There is a colleague who plays really good golf, and I'm like, I want to. So there is something you can, if you genuinely believe in that, you can find something that you aspire to learn from that person. And when you have that belief and someone gives you advice, I think you really said it, like, yes, ego comes in every now and then, but you got to say, okay, let me kind of reflect on this. Let me think about this advice that is given, and let me sleep on it. Come back to that next morning and think, what this person said, did that make sense? And very objective point of view. And sometimes actually discuss that with my personal board of directors, that I received this feedback, this advice. What do you think? And get an objective point of view. And I think that has worked for me. I won't say that that'll work for everyone, but that personally has done wonders for me, that belief that I can learn something from every person that I interact with. And then I always go to my board of directors when in doubt on whether the advice is good or not.
Excellent, Vikrant. I think in the end of the day, right, it's about continuous improvement. Are you ensuring that somebody is throwing light on your blind spot, taking into consideration and moving forward from there? And when you, I also want to understand, I know you've worked in healthcare, telecom, media, and a lot of different domains. I know ERP or CRM or be it digital, lot of technologies are common, no two ways about it. Context is different. The problems that industries are facing is different. And remember, there is always the maturity is completely different with each of these industries. And within the industry, each of the organization based on their own state of where they are. How do you adapt uh, for that? And how do you ensure you as a leader mentor your team in that kind of a specific knowledge, right? How do you manage that part? I mean, what I want to understand is how are you able to mentor, able to understand the differences, at the same time able to cultivate that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that is where I see I'm fortunate that I have a great foundation in consulting. That's where I learned these skills on how to quickly understand the key imperatives in each industry, and then understand what are the underlying challenges that industry is facing, what the context is, and how industry is responding to solve to those. And having those three things then actually help you. Then you do a lot of reading. At Accenture, typically, if I'm going to look at a new industry, there is a depth and breadth of knowledge that is available for me to go in and talk to my colleagues and talk to, read up through various, templates, white papers to educate myself. So that's there. And I will assume that most companies, most organizations have that. As people get thrown new challenges, and that is in an area they haven't worked in, I think that's a great place to start. A lot of the mentorship and learning on the team actually happens through life situations. And I think that is where I focus a lot on having people work with me, attend the meetings, observe, and come back and have a conversation on how that could have gone differently, and have that open, candid conversation. Give me feedback, I'll give you feedback, and together we will get to a better point. So in mentorship, I'm a firm believer in like on-the-job mentorship, on-the-job training, and having those real-time feedback is important. I think it's Adam Grant. He says feedback is a gift that should be cherished, and I definitely feel that everyone who wants to improve should consider that feedback is really a gift and should solicit feedback regularly. And I give real-time feedback, but also while giving feedback, you have to turn your human element on, because sometimes someone may not be in the mindset. For example, I was talking to a colleague who was super enthusiastic about something that had just happened, and was very excited. And I made the mistake of giving some corrective feedback, and that was not the time. I basically dampened this person's spirits by not having the right moment. If I could have waited 24 hours and come back next day and say, great, awesome, you did really well, here is something you should consider, it would have probably been more effective. So I think there's a balance in that. And frankly, I'm not perfect. I'm also continuing to learn. I make those mistakes again and again. And but knowing that I'm making a mistake is the first step that I can work towards remediation of the mistakes.
And rightly put, Vikrant. In fact, one of the first things that we always do is give me feedback. I think that is my gift that you're giving me, right? And most importantly, if the feedback comes from the right place, more often than not, people can see through it. It's not coming from any other sense, right? It's coming always from a place of improvement, place of kindness. I mean, I don't want to put any other parlance on it. Just a matter of genuinity. I think that often people tend to see, irrespective of cultures. I know the culture is a big part of what we are, right? So I like the part where you said, learning about the industry, learning from the subject matters, expertise, as well as reading and things. Uh, can you explain any interesting stories where you had taken a learning from one industry to the other, and any stories that you can share which is not confidential in nature?
Absolutely. This is maybe like trying to say maybe 14, 15 years ago. And I was working in the telecom industry, and I got a project to work in the steel industry. And this was a quick 4 to 6 week project, very high impact, working for the COO. And so it took me a couple of days before I got on the ground to understand what are the challenges steel industry is going through. And this was around the time where steel industry had already gone through like a boom and a bust type of cycle in North America. Several steel mills had gone bankrupt. I spent some time in understanding the imperative on why these industries were not effective, and what this client needed to do in order to improve their profitability. And I talked to some of the subject matter advisors, and I went in, at the end of the week one, I was talking to one of the general managers, and this person kind of like complimented, but in a very backhanded way, that, well, you seem to know a lot about the industry, and have you been here in this industry for a long time? And I joked and I said, yeah, 5 days. And this person said, "What?" And I said, "Well, the problem you're trying to solve, I've solved that problem 10 times with the other clients. It's not very unique to you. If you're trying to solve the problem the way you want this industry has always solved, probably the answers are very limited. But if you want to solve the problem how those 10 other places where I've solved this problem, I think you have more possibilities, more options to solve this problem. So yes, my experience in the industry is only 5 days, but my experience in solving this problem goes many years." And we both laughed about it, and he did not let me forget for weeks to come. But that also gave that affection and that connection that I was not going to misrepresent the facts to him. I was going to be transparent in my knowledge and what I brought to the table. And this person could have taken the choice and asked my boss at that time that I do not want to work with this person because this person doesn't have the experience. Thanks to him that he didn't do that. But then I think it created a different bond of that transparency. And I've found, Gayatri, in my life that I operate from a position of transparency. Why? Because transparency will always build trust. And when you have a trusted relationship, it'll turn into loyalty. And that's how it's a continuum. And that's how I aspire to work with my team. That's how I aspire to work with my clients. That's how I aspire to work in my personal life as well, to build that transparency, trust, and loyalty continuum and those relationships.
Wow, excellent. I love the story about, sharing your one learning from one industry and applying it. And see, in the end of the day, if you are having those trusted relationship or transparency, it's easier to talk in that rather than saying, okay, if I tell 10 sentences, which of it is true or not? If you get into that level of understanding it, it is a lot harder. I have been in those kind of organizations, and it's not fun. It creates a very, very negative kind of vibration, as well as not just for a person, but also for the organizations which are interacting also.
Guys, being a manager is easy, being a leader is hard.
Absolutely. So tell me a couple of instances of any of your mentees who has come and said, hey, you did this and it shaped my life.
I've had several examples like that, where sometimes you don't even know the impact of what you're having. I was talking to one of my mentees last week, and I met this person 5 years ago at a training center, and I said something that made an impact, and this person still remembers it. And basically, he was reminiscing on how what I said and how I said it. It left a long-lasting impression, and he felt that I am someone he really wants to kind of talk to and get mentorship from. I think in our interaction as human beings with other colleagues, we should always remember that when someone comes to us, we can choose to make a difference in their life, or we can choose to just be forgotten. And if we are genuine and if we put them first, we will make a difference.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that story, Vikrant. So when you were actually speaking about reinventing and learning and unlearning, you also mentioned how quickly you learn or how quickly you get to that stage, right? And why is the reason for having that pace? I have not heard too many people talk about the rapidness. I know the technology is changing rapidly, and we often talk about how landscape business models are changing rapidly. I want to understand the reason why you mentioned about rapidly changing oneself, and any rationale on why you're saying that. And I would like to understand the background, or if there are any interesting stories also.
Absolutely. And I think First and foremost, it's about relevance. And I'm in an industry where, I'm an advisor to several senior leaders uh, at my clients, and they expect me to know and have a pulse on not where things are headed, but where things are going to be. So I need to have a pulse on what's coming next, and I think that keeps me really kind of up to speed. Second, the change is coming at us at a very rapid speed. And if we don't keep up the pace, then we get left behind. And I personally, that's why I invest time and effort in reading, educating myself, and learning about where technologies are headed and how they are really solving the problem. Because at the end of the day, everything that technology is leading to is actually about solving a problem. And sometimes that problem doesn't exist, or we're not even aware of that problem is there. For example, if you look at metaverse has a lot of promise when it comes to training, when it comes to solving real-time problems. When some person is on the site and expert is like remote, there's a lot of promise with that. There's a lot of promise in gaming, and a lot of promise in people living the dream in a way. If I cannot travel to a particular place due to limitation, I can put on my Oculus headset and actually feel the presence of being there, walk around, enjoy a ride. So it brings in a lot of promise. So for us to actually stay on top of that, seeing where the society is headed, what are the problems that we are perceiving and what are the problems we haven't perceived, I think that is what causes me personally to keep up the pace. And I won't say I am the only one in this. I would say that a lot of people around me that I see, they are learning at that rapid pace, because again, it is the nature of the business we are in, where our clients are seeing the change. Companies that are not reinventing themselves get left behind. And I think there was a statistic a while back that every 10 years, there's a percentage of Fortune 500 companies that fall off the list and a new percentage of companies that come in. I haven't checked in what that latest statistic is. But similarly, if you apply that to personal level, that'll happen if you don't keep up with what's the customers are looking for and what innovation and inventions are needed, then that'll happen. So that's why the pace part comes in. For me, I think I have been again fortunate to have that good board of directors who have guided me on where things are headed. A few years ago, I was very much focused on blockchain as in the telecom, media, and high-tech industry, on what promise it can bring. And, I created a lot of white papers on that. Then I focused on to IoT and new business models. Now I'm looking at sustainability, and they're all very interconnected. They're not like disparate things that IoT is not connected to sustainability or blockchain. And I think that is where, as you kind of learn, you step back and see how things are so connected in the business, and then the pace automatically comes in, because if you don't learn everything, you get left behind. It's like a race too, guys. As we run a race, everyone starts at almost the same time. Some people stop at some point and then start to run. Some people you overtake, some people overtake you, but everyone finishes in the end of the day.
Yeah. And see, it's also excitement, right? When there is a rapidity in which you do something, you also able to see quickly whether that works. Or it also in the way I actually explain to my own customers is fail fast. Fail
Yes.
fast and learn faster. I mean, it's a lot easier to say, okay, I do it faster, and if I fail, it's okay, I've learned a lesson, rather than staying on the same place and saying what if kind of scenarios. Right?
Absolutely. And I think the fail fast at a work environment, if we apply to personal, that'll be great. We try take risks in some of these things, in learning new things. And there are things I've tried to learn and I just couldn't. And there are things I've tried to learn and I picked up pretty quick.
Yeah, all of us have different, levels, right? It's a one of the recent brain research says is that you keep learning, and that creates those neuron bridges. And more you learn, you're actually making it a habit, and that is by in itself it creates that discipline cycle, virtuous cycle. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
excellent. So I have one last question before we wind. I know you mentioned about what happens 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, you sort of speak with your clients. If you had a time turner 10 years from today, what would the landscape look like? Have you imagined it? Or yeah, for example, one of the things that I always think about is, it could be a no code, and it could be more of problem solving rather than creating ground up solutions and things like that. So, have you thought of any of those areas, Vikrant?
I'll give you an answer in a different way. My vision, if I see 10 years from now, I think we will live in a world where sustainability will be in our day-to-day fabric of most people, where it's not something we will have to educate. We will be sustainable at homes, we will be sustainable at work, and it'll just become part of our lives. I see a vision of a world where we are constantly focused on use of the technology to actually evolve the human race to something to the next level, where some of the stuff we do on a day-to-day basis is very much helped solved by technology. So we have more time to think and create something new. I have a vision of a world where I feel that there is better connectivity between people, whether you call it no matter what part of the world you're in. I think the differences will kind of, the walls will be broken down. So whether you're in one part of the world or others, you'll be better connected. I have a vision of a world where there are less disabilities, that no matter what physical disability you have, you are actually able to do more things, better things than you have been in the past, because technology will enable that.
Wow, nice. In terms of bringing a sustainability, in terms of equitability, right? Being equitable, and given that March month is all about equitable, like embracing the equity,
Yes.
I think lovely, Vikrant. I totally love the conversation. I know it's more than 50 minutes gone past. Any last words of advice that you want to share with the fellow journey people in your own learnings and your career?
Yeah, I would say encourage everyone to focus on the reinvention of yourself. Second thing, make sure that you give time to yourself, because if you are not able to take care of yourself, it's harder for you to take care of people around you. And third thing is learn and then unlearn to learn.
Excellent. Thank you so very much, Vikrant. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and talk to you soon.